Greetings folks and welcome to another episode of 81632-bit. I'm Rob and today I'm going to show you 5 brutally brilliant beat-em-ups or brawlers. I refuse to call them belt scrollers, I can't stand that term. But anyway, what is a beat-em-up or a brawler or that other term? Well, basically it's a game where you control a character and you generally scroll left to right and your character will punch, kick and special move their way through numerous bad guys on the way to defeating the game's ultimate bad guy. It's a relatively simple genre, walk left, punch, kick, repeat, but like any other video game genre, it has the possibility of being both brilliant and terrible. But these particular games are games that, in my opinion, are brutally brilliant. So, without further ado, let's get into the first title. So here we have Double Dragon 2 for the NES. Now this is possibly not going to be to everyone's taste, as there are some excellent brawlers on the NES such as River City Ransom, the various Turtles games, but I've got a real fondness for Double Dragon 2. I think it takes everything that wasn't quite there with the original Double Dragon and it just improves it. You have a much better game here, it plays better, the whole thing just feels that much better. Yes, it's a fairly basic brawler, you know, you scroll through the levels, you beat up the bad guys and you have to go and save the world, which is pretty much the plot of any beat 'em up. But you know, this is one of those games, it's just darn good fun and I really enjoy it. It plays really well. You do have to wrap your head around the control scheme where the 2 buttons vary between a front and a rear attack depending on which way your character sprite is facing. But once you wrapped your head around that, it's really simple. And yeah, it's just a great fun little brawler. You know, if you don't enjoy a game like this, then there's probably, I will say this is probably not the game for you. I will say as well, it is somewhat easier than the original Double Dragon, which had a habit of being brutally difficult at times. Double Dragon 2, it's not arcade crazy coin stealing hard. It's much easier to progress in this game. You know, it's just more fun. And I think for a NES game, it looks pretty darn good. You know, you don't have any real slowdown, the sprite flicker's kept to a minimum because that was always a problem with the NES, and it just plays really nicely and smoothly, and I cannot recommend it enough if you want an NES based beat 'em up. So sticking with the 8-bit systems here for my next one, I'm going for the Master System version of Streets of Rage. Now again, the Master System was lucky enough to have a number of very good beat 'em ups available for it. You have Streets of Rage here, you have its sequel, you have Golden Axe, you have Altered Beast, you have Dynamite Ducks. You know, there's quite a few options, but I've chosen this one because I think this is, not only does it play incredibly well, it replicates the 16-bit Mega Drive original superbly, both in looks and sound. Now, yes, there are tweaks to the controls because obviously this is a 2-button pad, not a 3-button pad, but it is an excellent conversion. And, you know, given the limitations of the system, this is just superb. Like I said, it looks great. I actually honestly believe this looks better than the Master System version of Streets of Rage 2, where to try and fit the bulk of the game into the cartridge, they downgraded the graphics massively, I think, compared to this. But this, whilst I wouldn't say it looks 16-bit, could certainly be passed off as a borderline 16-bit game. You know, you certainly wouldn't have objected to seeing a game that looked like this early on in something like the Mega Drive's life cycle. And as I said, it plays really well. It replicates basically everything that the Mega Drive original does. and it does it really well. It even sounds brilliant, you know. It's just a great brawler. We all know the story. Bunch of disenfranchised police officers quit the force and decide to clean up the streets from the crime gang of Mr. X. And you get this beautiful, gritty brawler, which was, of course, Sega's answer to Final Fight, a title which we will be coming back to later. But yeah, this to me is the peak of the genre on the Master System, and it's a game that I just think you just have to play. Everything about it is brilliant, and yeah, I don't have anything else I can say. And next up, we have Batman Returns for the Super Nintendo. Now, this was massively different to the Mega Drive game, which was an action platformer. As you can see here, Konami chose to go with the side-scrolling brawler, and, you know, it works really well. You have this really nice little intro with a bit of digitized stuff from the film, and then you're dropped into the streets of Gotham and you get to do what you want to do. I mean, this is perfect because the scene in Gotham at the Christmas tree unveiling is basically Batman doing a live action brawling beat 'em up. And this game is superb. Everything feels chunky and solid. The game flows nicely, the controls are crisp. You have a number of different moves you can do. The sounds as well. When you hit someone, it sounds meaty. And, you know, look at it. It looks damn good. It captures the aesthetic of the film really well. You know, you've got these huge, well-drawn, well-animated sprites, which, you know, is an important feature in a game like this. You want things to be well-animated because that helps with the feel of the gameplay. And this is just brilliant. It's responsive, it's quick, it sounds great. What more can I say? It's a really well put together scrolling beat 'em up. You do have, you know, within the Penguin's Red Triangle Circus Gang, you do have various trope characters in there. You know, you got the guys on the bikes, you got your standard brawling thugs. You know, it covers the bases, and like I said, it's just a really well put together game. You know, it plays to the Super Nintendo's strengths quite well with the colourful graphics, the sound, as I said. Like I said, it just plays well. You're never overwhelmed either. You usually never get more than 3 or 4 enemies on screen, which is somewhat of a limitation of the SNES to keep the speed up, but it works really well because it is very possible to feel in games like this quite overwhelmed by the number of enemies. Not an issue here. So, you know, if you have a Super Nintendo or you are playing about with emulation or a Mister or something and you want to try a brawler on the SNES, this is the one to go for. Seriously, it's a superb game. Quite possibly my favourite Super Nintendo game. So next up we have Final Fight CD for the Sega Mega CD. Now, it was quite a big thing when the Super Nintendo was released that it had the exclusive version of Final Fight, and it was a pretty darn good conversion, albeit somewhat cut down, only having 2 selectable playable characters and a few other changes here and there. This version, released for the Sega CD a couple of years later, was quite frankly an improvement in almost every regard. Whilst the graphics are not as colourful as the Super Nintendo version, they're all there. Everything moves well. You have the full soundtrack. You have the ability to pick from all 3 characters from the arcade machine, and at the time, short of actually owning an arcade machine and the PCB, this was as close as you were going to get to an arcade perfect version of Final Fight. You know, it looks the part, it sounds the part, it feels the part. You know, it plays really well, and, you know, as with all these games, ultimately that's the most important thing. How does it play? because, you know, a game can look superb, it can sound brilliant, but if it doesn't feel right, it's not worth playing. And this feels right. This feels exactly like the arcade version of Final Fight, and you couldn't really be asking for more. Yes, it meant you had to buy the, at the time, hideously expensive Mega CD add-on to go with your Mega Drive, but you know, this kind of justified it for a lot of people, and I can see why. It's a brilliant version of a brilliant game, you know. And as we'll see in a minute, before this came out for the Mega CD, Sega had their own response to Final Fight and how popular and successful it was. And we're about to get to that game, round about now, I think. And here we have it, number 5 on my list, Streets of Rage 2. This is the game that I personally consider to be the absolute king of the scrolling beat-em-ups. This and its prequel Streets of Rage were Sega's answer to the Super Nintendo having that exclusivity for Final Fight, and this game is just incredible. It's without a doubt the best playing game of its type. I defy anyone to find me a more purely enjoyable and smooth scrolling beat 'em up than this. It takes everything that the genre had done up until this point and it refines it to perfection. The graphics look superb, they're almost arcade quality, the animation is excellent, even the little incidental details. The soundtrack, I mean, the music for this game has been spoken about and raved about for the best part of 3 decades now. It's Yuzo Koshiro's soundtrack to this game is just outstanding. It's incredible. And as I said, it plays really well. You have the choice of 4 characters. Each one of them does play differently and distinctly differently. It's just great. There's nothing I can say about this game that is a negative. This is scrolling beat 'em up brawler perfection. It's incredible. Sega went the whole hog on this. They devoted a 16 megabit cartridge to it, which at the time was an incredibly large cartridge size, and it shows. It was just every ounce of that ROM cartridge and the Mega Drive's processing power was harnessed to produce the pinnacle of the genre. It's an amazing game. You have to play it. And I will say, if you don't think it's a great game, if it doesn't work for you, then I think there's a little bit of you that's dead inside, unfortunately. But yeah, this is Streets of Rage 2. It's the GOAT, the king, numero uno. I love it. It's the game, the scrolling beat 'em up, and yeah, play it, love it. You will, honestly, you will. And there you have it. 5 brutally brilliant brawlers on 5 different systems, technically. Now, let me know down below in the comments what you think of my selections. Would you pick different games? Would you pick the same games but for different reasons? I want to know. Tell me if I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like. If you really enjoyed the video, you can also hit that subscribe button. If you're subscribed, ring that bell to be notified when I upload a new video. You can support the channel as well. In the description below, there's links to my Ko-fi page and my Patreon. You can also take out a YouTube membership. Big shout out to Left Back and also got Retro again for their continued support. It's much appreciated. And yeah, this has been my look at some scrolling beat 'em up, some brutally brilliant brawlers. I'm Rob, and I will see you on the next video. So long.